I'll just be brutally honest, right? And I'll tell people this. If you get scammed by something like that, that was a lesson that you had to learn. Because my friend, you are a motherfucking fool.
If you're doing so well trading, why do you have a paid mentorship? Why do you have a paid group?
That comes from like a complete sense of like zero education about making money. Because you can tell a lot of these people are they don't understand like how to be wealthy or how to actually they look at trading, they're like, oh my god, I want to become a trader and I'm gonna change my life, I'm gonna be a multi-millionaire off trading. Like, let me break some to anybody who thinks that, right? Yes, that is possible, but I don't know anybody that is very, very successful financially that makes all their money off one thing.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Fair Value Podcast. Today, I'm pretty damn excited. I have a guest in that I've really wanted to have in for a really long time. And it's somebody who's really inspired me, to be honest, to become, more prominent on YouTube. And he kind of inspired me to get in front of social media and share my journey with you guys. So I'm really excited to have him here. Also, particularly because I feel like our social media / YouTube careers have drawn a lot of parallels from, one another. And I think that I can learn a lot from chatting to you. So what's up, Jesse?
What's
Thank
up,
you very
man?
much for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you, Ethan.
So,
thank you, Ethan. I mean, that's cool.
Jesse Rogers, aka Casper SMC. Where did you get that name from? I think I watched a podcast about it being about boxing, right?
Yeah. It was like a nickname that just stuck from when I was a kid, man. I boxed when I was a kid, and I got that there, and then that kind of just stuck. And I mean, people even call me like my hometown. And anybody, maybe some people will end up watching this, they'll laugh because that's been my nickname for a very long time. So it kind of just was fitting to, any alias that I have as far as like for, the internet or something, just Casper. Just makes it easier because I'm not one to come up with a good screen name. So, and plus I'll respond to it. If someone says Casper, I'm probably like, who, is somebody talking to me?
Right. So like, whereabouts in the US do you stay?
Tennessee.
Oh, wow. Okay. Cause you were just at FX Summit, right? And that's Miami. So it's pretty far, right?
Yeah, it's like, 2-hour flight. It's not too bad. I mean, it's driving,
Okay,
it'd be
that's
like
not too
12
far.
hours, but
That's not too bad. What was it like, dude? I can only imagine. Like, we were just chatting, and I actually remember you sending me photos of on the yacht and stuff like that, and I was just like, dude, you suck. What was it like, bro?
it was really cool, man. Like, it was really refreshing. It was a nice change of pace, really good energy. The people I was with, shout out to Paladin, Omar, Umzi, Jade, Riz's team, my boy John. Everybody we were with was just good vibes. Made a lot of new friends. Some friends were just people that I already, knew, I guess, from social media. But once you put a face to a name and really get to spend some time around people, it's like in this industry you do not get that I'm trying to think of the word, that blessing much. You know what I mean? It's very remote. What we're doing right now is the most you're ever going to get if you even get a video call. So it was cool to just, instead of having like a Twitter or Instagram PFP, to actually link up with these people, talk trading, and get a lot of insights, Um, it's cool to see that a lot of successful traders have the same traits, even if they trade differently in terms of their strategy or maybe what pairs they trade or what markets they trade. Everybody has the same common denominator when it comes to being successful, and that's just a good mindset, and that's in and outside of the market. So it was just a nice change of pace, a really good energy shift to go from just working really hard all the time to going down, being productive in the sense of networking, in the sense of building up your mental equity, because taking a break from work and recharging will get you, when you come back to work, you're going to do better. So, and it was just inspiring too, to see, like, I just kept thinking, man, it's crazy. Like Roy, shout out to Roy too, Chart Addicts, they put it together, that it was like crazy because that all started just off social media. And then there was a conference with, I don't even know how many people, like I'd say like probably 2,000 people or more maybe in a room, just everybody from something that started off social media, from started off people just like you and I, who just decided to share their trading journey. So it was just pretty inspiring, man. It's pretty cool.
How many people recognized you when you were there? Did you have like a ton of people that like came up to you and they were like, "Hey, dude, I really appreciate like the stuff you shared and that kind of
Yeah,
stuff"?
way more than I thought. I didn't think that would happen. I mean, I don't know. I didn't really think about it. I won't say that I thought it wouldn't happen, but I didn't really think about that. And then people were like, "Yo, man, I'm so and so off Twitter," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" Like, shout out to Omar D. He's this guy. He memes a lot. He'll like, I smoke cigars and he does too, and he would used to send pictures of like cigars and shit. And then I just saw this dude, and I would not have recognized him because, Twitter, you kind of forget things. But yeah, more than I thought came up and said, "Hey, are you Casper?" Or I would introduce myself to people, and I would say I was Jesse, and then after like 5 minutes, they'd be like, "Wait, are you Casper?" I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
It's funny, man.
Yeah. But I mean, it's also because your earlier videos, you didn't show your face in, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's funny though, the reason that I started doing videos wasn't even for YouTube. It was more or less just as like a video client, like somewhere to upload a video, for the people I work
Right.
with. But the overall, um, better part of my beginner career, I didn't have my face up there, so I could see how that would happen, I guess.
So in the beginning, it was essentially just a place for you to upload the education that you were, showing other people, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was just a place to, really for streams, because I started out streaming. I streamed every like 5 days a week, man, for a solid, probably almost a year, maybe a little less than a year of just 5 days, all like every week, right? And then I cut it down to 3, but I never really saw much traction on YouTube because YouTube, for me at least, didn't really show much love to streams. I didn't really, I mean, I would have like 40 to 50 people. Probably 25 to 30 of those are people from my group. And then I started making videos, right? I took one video. I started messing around. It's just funny your journey as a content creator from like how bad it was. Like when you look back at your first stuff, you're like, damn, I was terrible. You know what I mean? But I kind of went from just taking some of the videos I had already done or classes I'd already done and then re-editing them into videos to make them a little bit easier to, follow and easier to understand, I guess. And then I started uploading to YouTube and they saw massive success. Like that market maker video, I had 2,000 subscribers when I posted that. And I was at 10,000 in like a week or 2 weeks. So I was like, oh, okay. Now I figured it out.
But did it take you a long time to get to that point?
Yeah.
Like, so you said you were live streaming firstly, and then after live streaming, when did you decide to like drop your first video? And then from there, from your first video to where, you had that video that sort of made you pop off a little bit, how long was that? And like, how much of a grind was that?
It was like a year, man. Honestly, well, I know I made my YouTube in like April of 2021, I think, right? I didn't start really utilizing it until like August of 2021. And then I didn't really start taking off until January 2023. So, but I won't say I was like committed to growing on YouTube that whole time. I really didn't care about it, but still, I mean, I was streaming 5 days a week, still putting in the work, but I didn't really even use OBS or anything. I just record, nothing done to it, upload, if anything, you know what I mean? But
Would you say that when your video started popping off, like it really encouraged you to keep making more stuff?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just like anything. It's like the gym or like making money in trading or growing on YouTube. Once you start to see the fruits of your labor, it's that's the most motivational thing, because now you're like, okay, this isn't just some pipe dream where I'm wasting my time,
Yeah. Which video popped off, and like what kind of feedback did you get when, it started popping off?
The market maker model video. And it's one of my top performing videos to date, and doesn't have my face in it. It's a really good video. It really is. Because I always try to think like how to make this video how I always think about stuff that I couldn't understand with ICT and that I could never find a good video on. And then I'm like, okay, well, if there was a video, how would it have been? How would you have wanted it to be? So that's where I did with that video, and it got really good responses. People were like, hey, basically exactly that. Oh my God, I've never understood market maker models until now. Thank God that I found this video. So then I realized, okay, use that same formula and just hammer it down, right? So, I did it with displacement, I did it with daily bias, market structure, false market structure shifts. All those videos were some of the videos that I know I had a lot of trouble with, right? So then I went back and said, okay, how do you solve that problem? Like reverse engineer it, you know?
Right. What do you think people took from that video specifically that made it pop off? Like, what do you think, basically gave such a big reaction to that specific video? Was it just because you added so much value into that video and basically you were sort of the avatar for that video? So you were basically creating stuff based on what you would like, right? So essentially you were creating content that you wish you had access to yourself when you were trying to learn, ICT. So do you think that that was essentially why that video popped off, right?
Yeah, I think that, and I think it was actionable. And that's the biggest reason, because 90% of the stuff, I mean, as of late, it's gotten a lot better, like because people like you and myself, and there's other content creators as well that do well. But the problem with a lot of like the ICT and SMC stuff is that it's a bunch of theory and a bunch of like fascinating ideology, and then it's like, okay, how do I make money with this, you know? And that's where most people, they're here, or they understand, okay, yeah, the market's manipulated, okay, yeah, there's a market maker model, or yeah, look, sell side liquidity's been taken, but how the fuck do I know when we're going to buy side? Right? You know, like people don't have that actionable direction given to them. Yeah. So in that video, it's very clear. I'm like, here's exactly the 2 ways that I enter based off a market maker model, and this is where I'd put a stop loss, and this is where I'd target, and this is how I'd manage a trade. And people don't get that in this industry because everybody's so scared to be wrong, because ICT is like, oh, this has to be perfect, right? You're tracking smart money. If you know what you're doing, then you get the ultimate TP. You snipe the 1 minute chart, the perfect stop loss. And that's not true. But all these people who are newer to this game, who don't really even understand it, that are making content, they don't ever want to be wrong. That's why you see people on Twitter, they always leave that little back door, that little scapegoat, where they will never put themselves in the position of, okay, oh, if it hits where they wanted it to go, oh, praise me. Yeah. But if it doesn't, oh, well, I said, it's like the classic people like, oh, well, this is, they draw 2 squiggly lines, one going up, one going down. Oh, right.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just put a lot of really abstract stuff on social media, and especially on YouTube. So when people are, giving educational content on YouTube, it's very like, abstract. There's no real rules involved. There's no real actionable steps, like you were saying. And I think that people are, content creators are kind of scared to give those actionable steps, because it's like, what if they do those steps and it doesn't work, or they're scared that, they get backlash for, hey, I did this and this and this and it didn't work, which, to be honest, that's the same thing I try to do for my videos. I give actionable steps that you can follow, and so that you can trade in a more like robotic kind of way, which is the best way to trade, in my opinion. Yes, as time goes by, you can add, discretion based on your experience, which can further increase your win rate. But I think that when you give these kind of robotic kind of steps, a lot of creators are kind of scared to give them. Like you were saying, they leave a backdoor open to say, hey, but maybe you didn't look at the higher time frame correctly, or this and that and this. But I mean, that is how it is. I mean, if you are going to give steps to like a mechanical process, your win rate isn't going to be great, because generally when I say not great, I mean it's not going to be as good as if you had fused, the higher time frame bias, and you add in different, conditions that you've managed to spot in the market. You can essentially add all of those confluences together to give yourself an even higher win rate. And that's what a lot of people seem to miss, in my opinion. They'll be like, hey, I did this and this and this, and I lost 3 in a row. And I'm like, but that's fine. Yeah. Over 100.
Exactly.
You're going to win 60 out of 100. And that's still great. You're still making money. But just because you lost 3 in a row doesn't mean that the win rate isn't good enough. It's over a large sample size. Like, how much have you tested? So I think that's also, like you were saying, like, I think a lot of content creators leave that back door just for in case people come after them. But yeah, I mean, you have to be careful what you're talking about put out on YouTube in general. And I think that was also something for me that I was really scared about when I started, my journey of sharing the knowledge that I had acquired on YouTube. Was I was like, What if people get angry with me? What if people don't like what I have to say? And what if people, misunderstand what I say and then do something else? When I got started, that was something I was very nervous about, like especially putting my face on the internet. That was scary for me. I'm like, I'm not only putting my name behind this, I'm putting my face behind this. And then you start to kind of get like imposter syndrome to some degree as well. How did you deal with that? Like, I know you basically said it was almost like mistake that you ended up, you know, putting your education on, and then eventually, you put your face on, and you started appearing in your own videos. How did that, like, how is that evolution for you? So a lot of people ask me, what is my favorite prop firm to use? And the answer is simple. It's Blue Guardian. Blue Guardian has the best prop firm conditions of any prop firm I've used to trade with. And they allow you to take an unlimited amount of time to pass their evaluation. Not only this, but they give you the Guardian Protector, which is a tool that stops you from hitting your max daily loss. You can also set it further down to stop you from overtrading for that day. It simply cuts off your MT4 account and you can't continue to trade if you hit more than that loss. So if you want to use the prop firm that I use, click the link down below and use the code GARTRADES to get 10% off your purchase. Let's continue with the video.
So really, the reason I didn't do it was because I didn't have a good webcam. It was never really because I didn't want to necessarily. And then once I realized, like, I always knew, you're not gonna, I won't say you're not, because there are some people who do well without a face cam, but I think they would do better if they had a face cam. You know what I mean? I think that if you want to really be serious with this and also show people you're really serious about it and show people you care about it, you need to be, showing your face. So I knew that, and once I actually saw some success, I immediately was like, okay, gotta get the face cam in it, gotta do it, and that was just really that. I just never really saw any purpose to do it because I wasn't gonna take it seriously before. That was really the way I looked at it.
Yeah, I think that's also the thing. I mean, who's going to learn something from somebody that doesn't want to put, basically their actual name behind it? Like, if you're teaching something that's actually worthwhile, why would you not put your reputation behind it essentially, and be able to, who's going to trust you if they don't know who you are? But yeah, I think that was the same thing for me as well. Like, I found a lot of like similarities to your journey. Like, literally my first video was trash, like absolute trash. The audio on one side isn't working, so it's like stereo, but it only works on the left hand side, and it's super blurry. I think it's like, yeah, I don't know if it's like 720p or something, but it's super blurry and the quality is really bad. But that video blew up and got like 150K views, and I'm like, what the hell? So I was lucky in that, like, that was literally my first video ever. So I was lucky that that video popped off straight away. So I've literally been content creating for like just over or just under 4 months now, which is crazy. That's like literally from my first video. So I feel like I kind of like, struck gold pretty early on. Like, for you, you said you just kind of like threw some stuff out there and some stuff kind of popped off, but you were involved with YouTube for quite a while, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was on YouTube just to post like streams that I'd already like done for my group or that I was doing for my group, but I never really, like, I'd say I've been, content creating. But I mean, I'd say since really like last like October, because I started to I don't even know if it's been that long, honestly, because I started to try to make shorter videos, like have my streams edited into to reels and TikToks, and they were really low quality. They didn't really do well. But really, when I started taking it seriously was like once I saw that first video, and like, I didn't even have a face cam on it either. So it's funny, we say, oh, it's important to have a face cam, and then we look and it's like, damn. But I think that the main thing is the value. The face cam, it just kind of like helps you connect to you and see like, they just connect to you a little bit more, and they get to see, your expressions while you're talking. Everything is just, there's a feel for it. You know what I mean? But really at the end of the day, the value is the most important part. So like your video that did very well because it was a great video. It had a lot of great value, a lot of actionable insight, and that's why it did so well. And then that's why you see a lot of these guys that they might have a lot of subscribers. Like, there's some people I look at and I kind of like will judge the market. and they have like the best equipment. They have a lot of subscribers, but they've also been doing it for so long. And if you watch their subscribers, they barely move, and they don't like. I see people that have 200,000 subscribers that are getting way less views and way less engagement than people like me and you. But I think it's because they don't really have as much value. So the value is definitely the most important part. So that's why those videos did so well, you know?
And what do you think about like these creators that have kind of popped up? And I know like obviously, you know, the ICT space in general is, you know, it's where it's at right now. I mean, everybody's hopping onto the ICT bandwagon. Do you think that some people are like literally taking advantage of it to try and create content around it, even though they weren't before? What's your take
Oh
on that?
yeah, I just saw one like the other day, man. I'm not gonna, there's the YouTuber that I've followed for a long time as far as just like I don't really ever trade anything he does, but I just saw him the other day. It was like doing like a silver bullet video, and it wasn't even right. It wasn't even right. I was like, this isn't even, and it had like hundreds of thousands of views. Because what I'll do is I'll watch like keyword trends, and that's how I saw it. It popped up, and I was like, this guy too. I was like, everybody now has made a freaking ICT video. But yeah, I think, I mean, a lot of it, and you can't be mad at it because that's just the way the game goes. You just have to identify it and, you know, kind of keep it over there. but I think the way I look at it is it brings more opportunity to people like you and I, because the more bullshit there is, for lack of a better word, the more you'll shine. Like for example, TikTok. I don't like that platform as a whole. I think it's just like very low caliber. Just that's the best way to explain it. But I started going on there and posting stuff, and I blew up immediately. Why? Yeah. Because I'm not one of these guys that's on TikTok. That's just, you know, literally has no idea what they're talking about. And there's a few good traders on there. But you know, so it's like when I think I welcome that, because it gives you more of a chance to really, you know, connect with people, because people go through all of that and then they find somebody like you or I and they're really happy about it.
Right. So where did your journey start? Like when it came to, so firstly, we'll start with like, where did your journey start with trading in general? And like, how did you come across it? Was it a friend of yours, or were you just like on the internet? And how long ago was that?
So I did. It was a couple friends of mine that were telling me to buy Bitcoin and ETH and XRP and stuff like that in like the first crypto run, like 2016, before the run. That was how I got introduced to any kind of like asset, like investment asset, you know, like buying a stock, anything. It was crypto. And I bought Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, pretty good amount of it, and did very well with it. And then I realized, okay, this is definitely my kind of thing, because I've always been kind of like an entrepreneur mindset. I've always wanted to just, I never really had the idea of just doing one thing and like working a job, and never ever, that was never even an option or an equation for me. So or in the equation for me. So I really like trading. And after I had that success, I then started to see that trading wasn't that easy. I just got lucky. And I started to realize, like, hey, you know, you don't know what you're doing. And then didn't really get fully kind of, you know, I guess consumed into the trading world until 2020. And that's where I really decided to just go full out with it and make it my main focus.
And before, like, okay, so in 2020, when you started to really focus on it, what were you looking at? Were you looking at like support and resistance? Was there anybody in particular you were following? Like, what were you looking at? Or did you start straight away with, you know, SMC and, you know, ICT type
No,
stuff?
I started, well,
Were you lucky?
originally, no, definitely not. When I started originally, there was this thing that was called Trading 212. They're like, yeah, they're like I think they even have like an exchange, and it's like the total retail, like preschool to trading type stuff. And I started off with them, watching a lot of their videos. Basically, they just take every strategy you could think of and make a video on it, just to make content, you know. So I was trading like bull flags, ascending wedges, chart patterns mainly, and then like I used to like use this thing. It's so funny. I would call them liquidity zones. I don't even know where I learned this shit. And it was like if there was like wicks, like a candle shelf, and then like a candle closed in that. Like that was like the way I did a breakout. And I would trade like that, like using that to confirm like a bull flag,
Yeah.
or whatever.
But what were you trading back
Crypto.
then? Crypto.
And what's funny is I was making money, right? But it was because it was
Yeah.
2020. And if you weren't making money in 2020 and
Yeah.
you were trading, I don't know what the hell you were doing, to be honest. But
Yeah. I mean, you had a pretty good idea what direction
yeah,
things were
yeah. It
going
was just
in,
buy.
you
It
know?
was literally, I mean, dude, we would be, I would be in the community that I got my start in. We would literally be in like 20 positions long, like on crypto, like all of them up like hundreds percent, like on leverage, just total fucking madness, bro.
Just buy the dip.
Yeah, literally, like, oh, like Algo looks good, BTC looks good, XRP, let's just buy them all, buy risk 1% on everything.
Yeah.
And then I mean we are making a killing, dude, and buying equity and stuff. But then when I got a really big wake up call was when Doge, the first time, like the very first time, I made like a lot of money trading on leverage. Like I made like it was close to around 25K, like pretty much overnight. And then
Yeah.
but then
Crazy.
then I ended up getting, that's when I started getting like really like, okay, you know the classic flying too close to the sun Icarus mindset, and I blasted myself. I lost all that 25, and then I took another. And I was trying. What's funny, when I lost the money, I was on a call with two of my good friends. Glacier is one of them, and Scarbs. They'll probably end up watching this, but I was on a call with them. This is way back. This is like 2020, and I tried to short Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Litecoin, like right before. You remember when they went to like almost 40K, and then they went like they started dying, and it was like, oh, this is it. Yeah, I blasted an account off that. Just stupid shit. But that's when I realized, okay, if this much money is fluctuating, right? Like, you know, I was blessed that I had came up quite a bit off equity that year, so it wasn't like crippling, but it was still like maddening. Like, damn, you're an idiot, you know. So I realized if you can, you know, generate that much money, then lose it, then generate again, then lose it again, there's something here. You just haven't found it yet. So that was whenever I really took it serious. And I started saying, okay, start managing your risk. Look at this as not just a casino, and start to really refine this skill and turn it to something that you can actually look at as a business, right? Because I had another business at the time that was doing pretty well. So I wanted to make another one with this. And that's when I started really being serious. Stuck with it, and then throughout, like up until like early 2021, like another like I guess like 6 to 8 months later, I was starting to do very well consistently. I still wasn't trading SMC. I had not traded SMC yet at this point. And had been trading like harmonics and using an algorithm that was like a paid algorithm that actually did work. I mean, ICT people want to crucify me, but it really did work. And it was doing very well. And then that was like when I started to hit the ICT rabbit hole, was like early 2021. And, you know, like I said, I'd already been pretty experienced in trading by that time. It had been 5 years since I first touched an asset. So I understood all the market mechanics. I definitely understood markets were manipulated. And then ICT kind of came into the picture, and I really I zombied the 2016 core content, like watched all of it very quickly, watched it again. And I think the reason that it resonated with me is the reason it resonates with so many people, and that's that it gives you a purpose to what you're looking for. If that makes sense. Like, okay, like whenever we take out a low, I'm like, okay, this is likely where the markets are going to get manipulated. When you're trading a bull flag, you're like, breakout, buy. You know, and there's no there's no reason for it. And I also like the way that it was. I mean, it was more mechanical in my way, or my opinion, with using market structure, because everybody always talks about market structure no matter what school of thought you're in. But ICT market structure is different. And that was where I started to see, like, okay, like this is actually like this is a game plan. There's actually this is mapping out a plan to where, you know, you're not always just wondering if this is going to work or not. I mean, you still are, I shouldn't say. You always are going to, you never know that. But, so I got really into that, stuck with ICT. Ever since then, that's all I've traded. You know, there was a point when I was transitioning where I was using harmonics with ICT, which I'll still say does work. I just don't do it now because it's just not part of my my plan. But yeah, man, it was that from then on. It really I just kept watch. I've watched ICT core content like 2016. I'd say every video, at least 3 times. A lot of them probably 5 to 7, 8 times. Some of them, but that's just, you know. because all that stuff, I won't say it's all necessary. Like, you know, you got to remember the dude was doing
Yeah.
like a year-long mentorship. You don't need all of it. Depending on what kind of
Yeah.
trader you are, like months like 7 through 9, we're all like 5's a good month, but 7 through 9 was really where I was like watching stuff like, you know, over and over and over again. And then, yeah.
What kind of like value do you think you got from watching them over and over and over again? And like, what made you do that? Like, did you feel like you had missed stuff out, or?
Um, I didn't okay, so just I didn't watch them like right in a row. Like it wasn't like I sat there and watched the same video, but I would watch it, and really it would be like it would whatever I was trying to do based on this video was kicking my ass, and I came back to fix it, and then I was like, ah, okay, now that I've taken this knowledge and went into the market and tried to apply it, there's always that like, you know, a video can help you so much, a strategy can help you so much, but taking that out into the field and actually doing it is going to, that's where you really learn, you know, because humans learn by doing. At the end of the day, you can learn how to do something and like the parameters of it. This is kind of like this, like for example, if you read like an instruction manual on how to swim, right, it's not going
Yeah.
to teach you the same as swimming. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
watch a video on how to do a bench press or a deadlift or a squat, it's going to get you enough to where you can go do it, but you don't really know what you're doing. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing with really anything. Like, so that was, you know, bouncing back and forth between those, and perspective's everything. So if you watch a video at the perspective of like, you don't know shit, you're going to be missing a lot of stuff, right? A lot of stuff that you could infer. So once you come back after some experience, then you're, okay, I see what he meant there. Because I'd say everybody can agree there's about a good 60% of each video that ICT has where if you watch it the first time, you're like, what? What did he just, I don't even know. I have no idea how he knew that. Or why did he look for this high? That kind of stuff. But then once you come back and, you know, it's you know, it comes together piece by piece by going out in the field and applying it and then coming back. So that was the way that it gave me value, was watching them over and over again.
Do you think that having those videos, because at the time, obviously, if you were watching, you know, those older mentorships, and at that time, ICT wasn't, you know, everything that everybody was talking about like it is now. Do you think going through it firsthand like that gave you an advantage versus now where most people learn it the second or third hand through content creators like us? Do you think that they have an advantage learning it from us? Do you think that maybe it's more diluted, or do you think they have an advantage because we've had the experience and, you know, refined it in our own way?
I think they definitely have an advantage, but that's if they find the right people and if you have the right mindset, because it's a double-edged sword, right? So let's say you could look at like one way and say, okay, well, we have people like you and I who basically it's kind of like a filter, because, you know, ICT knows his stuff so good, and he knows that the people who really want to live, like he isn't here to appeal to anybody at this point. ICT is going to put a video out, it's doing hundreds of thousands. He does not care if you like it or not, right? So it's going to have a lot of stuff that, quite frankly, may not be of value to everybody, right? Am I saying it's not valuable? No. But to somebody who's new and they come and watch some of these ICT videos, there's probably about 5 to 10 minutes of value sometimes for those people because they can't interpret everything else, right? So that can put them at a disadvantage. Like for me, watching the 2016 stuff, there was so much stuff that would just, there's stuff to this day that I'll go back and I'll see. Like I won't say to this day because I don't really watch too much ICT anymore, but later in my career, closer to now, that I went back and watched and it just clicked because I understood so much other stuff. But when people are watching it now, or they have access to ICT, they don't only have access to that. They have access to people like you and I, right, who have gone through that or who have filtered out what you really don't need and then put it into, okay, here's what you need. You know, here's a step-by-step process. But also the double-edged sword of that is there's a lot of scammers. There's a lot of people who aren't even trading. And I think the worst, if I had to say what the worst thing was about the ICT community, is all the people who don't even actually trade, right? Because, like, okay, if all of these people that you see are really as good of a trader as they are an analyst and they're posting about, these guys would all be millionaires. There's a reason you see, literally, you very rarely see these people even post their fucking face or they post anything they're doing, right? Why? Because they're not doing anything, right? They're not actually out here making money. But their charts will tell you they were, but they're not, right? If they were, here's the thing. And people might act like, oh, well, maybe they just want to be private. Okay, well then why are you on Twitter? Nah, man. You know what I mean? It's just bullshit. You just can't, right? So like people that like sometimes I'll get flack for like posting like something I'm doing, like people call it flexing or whatever. Like there is a nauseating way to do that. There is, where you're just a douchebag for sure, 100%. But I think it's important to show people like, okay, I'm at, you have to show people that success is a thing, right? Because most of these people, they're not making any money. I'd say most of the people that you're seeing as like ICT content creators are not even trading real money, much less making it. But they're just out here trying to be validated and trying to, you know what I'm saying? So that's where the double-edged sword comes in, because like there's a couple people right now in the space. They're really good at like, they build this like mysterious personal brand and they get like a cult like following. But when it comes down to it, they're not really actually trading. They're not really actually doing the things they're talking about doing. But that's where it becomes a problem, because people that are easily impressed, they can fall victim to scams like that. You know what I mean? So yeah, could go either way.
So obviously you've got a mentorship, right?
It's more, we just have like a Discord where it's like a education
Like a Discord
type thing. I mean, it has like trade signals and stuff like that too, but it's not like an organized course or anything like that.
Yeah. But it is paid,
yes,
right?
No, yeah, it is paid.
So what would you say to the people that are like, hey, if you're doing so well trading, why do you have a paid mentorship? Why do you have a paid group? Like, why do you need it?
I just think that comes from like a complete sense of like zero education about making money, because you can tell a lot of these people they don't understand like how to be wealthy or how to actually they look at trading, they're like, oh my god, I want to become a trader and I'm gonna change my life, I'm gonna be a multimillionaire off trading. Like, let me break some to anybody who thinks that, right? Yes, that is possible, but I don't know anybody that is very, very successful financially that makes all their money off one thing, right? People that say that just have never been involved in business, or they've never really made money. That's just simple as that. So I don't ever get upset with that. I just look at it like, they just don't understand what it actually means to be, whatever you call it, wealthy, making money, whatever. But it's like, that'd be like saying like, oh, like if you make so much money from your job, why would you buy a house to Airbnb? Like, oh, if you, like, it's just stupid. It just comes from like financial illiteracy and just ignorance. So, you have to understand people like that. They're just at a different stage in their journey as far as like entrepreneurship or making money. So you can't really be mad at them. You know what I mean? You just gotta, I used to try to say that, but now I just don't even pay any attention to it. But people,
yeah, that's the thing.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's the thing. So essentially, I see the exact same way. Like you get that question often, and I feel like there's a lot of people that have almost like this just immediate like paranoia or suspicion about anything that a trade influencer does. So essentially, if you try to sell anything, immediately you're a scammer. But what I don't understand is, if you have this knowledge and yes, you're making money trading, why would you not do something where it takes very minimal of your time and effort to create a platform that generates you almost like a passive income? Like, it's a no-brainer. You'd be stupid not to do it. Like, I mean, it doesn't, if whether I've got 100,000 people or 10 people in my community, it's really not going to make much of a difference to me, in that if I have that many people, I'll just have more moderators in there to chat with people and make sure that everybody's seen to, and I'll have more coaches in there. But essentially, like, it doesn't take more of my time. And I feel like when it starts to take more of the, mentor's time, and I see them offering more of their time, immediately I'm like, alarm bells, like, dude, didn't you start trading to free up your time? Wasn't that the whole point? And if your main income source is trading, I mean, surely you wouldn't be trying to, fill up all 10 hours of your day free with one-to-one mentorship sessions with all these different students that you're doing for like like $20 or $30 a pop. Like, dude, surely your time is worth more than that if you're making all that money. So I think that there is a line. That being said, I feel like a bunch of people just write people off straight away as soon as they've got any kind of mentorship program or course. But it's really not, that's not the case. It's not mutually exclusive. Just because you've got a course doesn't mean you're only making money from the course. Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, literally, like Steve Martin literally teaches a masterclass on comedy.
Right, masterclass has tons of multi-millionaires that are doing. It's just it's
exactly. It's not like, oh, if you can't do it,
that's
teach
a good
it.
one. Actually,
Like,
I'm gonna start using.
like, seriously, the guy just makes a course once off, posts it, and he makes a few $1 million. Like, why would you not? I mean, it's the same for us. Like, why would you not firstly help people, which is, and put out content that you wish you had access to when you were starting, firstly. But also, I'm not going to bullshit and say that I'm only doing it to help people. Of course, there is a monetary gain aspect to it. But the main thing is that I'm not like pimping out my time to do it. Like, it's something I do once off, and I maintain it every day and I interact with people every day. But as soon as it gets too much, I'm either going to put, things into place to free up my time again, or I'll slow down with it. Like, it's not, I think that that's where people cross the line. And then there's people that are just like desperate for money, and they're like, oh, I've got a special price on my mentorship, and in-person mentorship with, 1-to-1 for like $20 or something.
Even $100,
whatever.
bro.
You can immediately spot.
Even, like, I remember when I first started out doing like this is before I was even doing YouTube stuff. Like when I was just in the group, it's like the way that I became like I was a member in the group that I'm like now, partnered with. You know what I mean? I used to be a member.
Yeah.
And
that's crazy.
At one point, I remember I used to do one-on-ones, bro. I swear to God, I used to do one-on-ones at one point for $50 to $100 an hour. That's crazy to me.
Wow.
But I quickly, like very quickly, was like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, this is so stupid. You can make $50 in like 5 minutes. I was more so doing it because it was like an added value thing. But then I realized really quick, like you said, it's not worth it. So like if there is a red flag, if somebody is like so cheap, or they're like out here just like advertising $100 one-on-ones, like, bro, you're not making money. If $100 an hour to you is like enough to sit down and do like that just says a lot. You know what I mean? Because people get mad. Like,
that's why
when you charge a lot for something, I'll tell people, I'm like, bro, like, you shouldn't work with someone who like, and also another thing too, like going back to just like how people, always think of mentorships like just a scam, or that guy's just, and I do want to say, I understand somewhat, because the two things. This industry is full of scams, right? And a lot of people have been scammed. So I understand, whatever, right? And there is a lot of courses, like I have like access to so many courses that not like from pirated courses, like those folders that go around, and I'll see someone, I'm like, bro, this is pathetic. Like there was a guy recently who put a course out. It was just like a hour-long one video, and he charged everybody like $100 for it. And it was like, what a fucking joke, but people like that. So there's people that like are so brainwashed by like the branding that they actually like, but it's funny because, people will flock to that stuff. But going back to what I said before I get off track, I understand when people have been scammed by something like that and they are, they're damaged from that. I totally get that. Right. So that's, again, I try not to take it personal. But number two, trading is a very hard industry, right? And most people fail at this. That's just the ugly truth. I would say 9 out of 10 people in this game will fail at this, right? And that's not me trying to be pessimistic. If you took 9 out of 10 people, maybe not 9 out of 10 ICT traders or 9 out of 10 people we know, but 9 out of 10 traders worldwide are going to fail, right? Numbers don't lie. So when that's the case, you got to think of it like this. Out of all these people that are like talking shit to you, 90% of those people are failing miserably, right? So they are going to take that anger from that, and anywhere they can, they're going to place blame, or they're going to like project that anger onto that. Whether it's you know, a crypto rug pull or an NFT rug pull or a scammer, you know, influencer, whatever. They're just so mad at this industry and they don't realize it yet. So you can't even be as mad for them, you know what I mean? Or mad at them. Like, you just kind of have to understand it. Like, actually, shout out to T Trades. He's another YouTube. I'm sure you know who he is. He told me one time, because when I was first doing this, like, there was people I used to not hold back. Like, somebody would say something, I'd be a dick, you know. And sometimes I still will. Sometimes, like, very rarely, but usually it's more like satirical. You know what I mean? Now it's like, just because I'm like, I think of a funny reply. But he used to be like, you gotta understand, bro. Like, these people are like, it's just the emotional mindset they're in. That's nothing. You know what I mean? I thought about it like that. I was like, you know, that's actually kind of sad when you think about it like that. It makes you feel bad. You're like, damn. But yeah, man, I think that people that are doing it like for super cheap, or they're just like desperately doing like sales and this and that, like that's, and again, it comes back to a lot of people that come into trading or any internet money, so to speak. Like, I just call it internet money, like Shopify, Airbnb, credit, all these ways where people see a fucking TikTok and are like, oh, this is how I'm gonna make my million. All those people are not, they're financially illiterate, right? Most of the time they're not doing well and they have no idea how to do well, so they latch onto something. So a lot of those people, you have to understand, even the people that are like trying to like they come watch ICT for 3 weeks and like, oh, I see other people making a course, I'm gonna make a course. Those people, that just comes from like a mental area of scarcity, you know. So, and you can spot that very easily, you know what I mean? Like, there's people that are, you know, so there is a line where it is a red flag, but it's pretty easy to tell also for somebody like me or you, I think, at least. But yeah, so that was a good way to put that. I like that.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that I feel like there's just so much emotions involved in this industry in general, because a lot of people, you know, they put a lot of pressure on themselves to make it, so to speak. And when they don't, they need to figure out a reason for why they didn't make it. And that reason is generally 9 times out of 10 not going to be themselves. Yeah. They're not going to say, hey, maybe I didn't work hard enough. Maybe I didn't collect enough data. Maybe I didn't spend enough time learning the skills necessary. Maybe I didn't spend enough time on my mental psychology and managing my emotions when I'm trading. Usually they're going to say, hey, it's just because there's so many scams around. There's so many different people that are pushing all of this stuff, and I can't find anybody that I can learn from. But also the biggest thing is generally they're like, and what a lot of people end up doing when they give up is they're just straight up like, there is no way to be profitable. Yeah. Like, they're just like, everybody that claims that they are, they're lying. Like, and I've come across quite a few of those kinds of people that are just like, the whole thing is a scam. Like, there's no way you can make it. There's no way that it can be profitable because the brokers, the prop firms are all out to get you.
Yeah.
You've got so much spread, you've got so much commission, there's no way. And it's pretty easy to fall into that mindset yourself, to be honest. I mean, there were times where, you know, I thought that myself. I'm like, hey, is this thing actually attainable? Like, do the people that I think are profitable, do they actually make money? But then once I met one or two people like that flipped it completely over. Like, everything was turned on its head. Like, I was like, these people are actually doing it. I know they're doing it. And they're also not like, they're not trying to sell anything to me either. I'm just friends with them. Like, I know that they're doing it. Why aren't I doing it? So I was just like, of course I'm going to do it now, because I know it is something that's attainable. But what I was trying to say is essentially a lot of people have to justify the reason why they failed. And usually they use a different external reason for that without looking inwardly. And generally it's they're either going to blame, you know, the industry as a whole, or they're going to blame maybe somebody who specifically didn't, you know, give them the right information, or the course wasn't good enough, or this information wasn't good enough. But essentially, usually it comes from within, and it's also something that I've said so many other times. There's so many different ways to be profitable in this industry. Like, there's so many different strategies. There's so many different methodologies you can follow. But if inwardly you're not developed enough mentally and you're not developed enough emotionally to handle, what comes, then you may as well use any strategy, because all of them are going to fail regardless. And I feel like people spend a lot of time not working on the inward stuff, and they keep trying to change the outward stuff, which is like the strategy, and they keep strategy jumping. They're like, oh, this one isn't working, this one isn't working, but they haven't fixed everything inside first. So I feel like people working on their psychology and their mental actual acuity when it comes to trading and thinking logically instead of emotionally, once they're able to do that, it doesn't matter how they trade, doesn't matter what strategy they use, to be honest. You could literally be trading Fibonacci and supply and support and resistance, wouldn't matter. You could be trading, candle body closures on the 4 hour or whatever. You can trade whatever you want and it will work, So yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. And I think there's a lot of people that are just really negative in the industry as a whole, just because there's a lot of salty people that didn't make it happen and they want to blame somebody else for it. Recently as well, the worst thing ever, and I think probably the worst thing I've had to deal with since having any kind of influence, is like scammers that pop up.
Oh, dude.
Like scammers that impersonate you. Look,
Dude, it's so
I mean,
bad.
it is the most stupid thing in the world. Like you're like, oh, this guy popped up and he's impersonating me. Look at all of his posts. They were all posted on the same day. He's got similar amount of followers. Like, surely nobody's going to fall for this. Like, surely not.
Right, but nah, man. I mean,
You're like, surely not. And then they do. But the worst is when they fall for it and then they're convinced that it was you who stole their money. Have you ever had that happen to you? Because that's happened to me twice now, and it really freaking sucks.
See, here's the way that I look at that. I'll just be brutally honest, right? And I'll tell people this. If you get scammed by something like that, that was a lesson that you had to learn. Because, my friend, you are a motherfucking fool. And I hate to be a dick. I mean, I'm just being honest, right? Like, most people, like, I feel sorry for them, right? I feel bad that it happened for them, right? I wouldn't say, like, but here's the honest truth. If you're trying to be a trader, right? Or if you're trying to make any kind of money online and anything where you're not clocking in, you're going to have to be a little bit smarter than that. I mean, Jesus Christ, bro, right? I'm so, like, some people might be like, because there's been people who've met and be like, bro, like, this guy, like, you have to do something about it. And I'm like, I have to do something about it? Like, no, you have to do something about, like, have a brain. You know what I mean? Or people will message me like, hey, is this you? I'm like, bro, why are you're messaging? I'm like, oh my God, bro. But no, I mean, like,
if you have to ask, then the answer is probably
dude,
no.
like, and I get it. There are some people that are like older or like maybe just really don't understand. And I'm not trying to be completely a dick, because I get it. Some people could be like, oh, he doesn't, and I do care, but at the same time, bro, I'm not like here to, like, I can't do anything about that. I don't push buttons for you. So it just comes back to, like, kind of common sense, man. And it's just like, natural selection is a real thing, and hopefully you evolve from that, right? So, like, with people, I've never had somebody say, like, that it was my fault, so to speak. I've had people, you could tell they were kind of, like, irritated about it, you know what I mean? Yeah. But, like, I would literally be like, you can, like, I'm not gonna, you can probably guess where that's going, you know what I mean? But, like, dude, it's just, it comes back. You had to learn that lesson, bro. Like, I hope you learned it. There's been people, man, like, for example, there was a guy, I'm not gonna say names, but there was a guy in my group that he messaged me and messaged all the other moderators and all the other admins and said, hey man, I need some money. This group scammed me. And I said, whoa, what's going on? What happened? Right? So he said, yeah, someone posted this link in here, which isn't true. No one posted this link. But he said, someone posted this link in here to this YouTube video. It was an Elon Musk video, and he was talking about Bitcoin.
Oh,
dude,
no.
Listen, no.
Like a deep fake one.
Listen to shit. And he said, no, it wasn't deep fake. It was the B word conference. You remember that Bitcoin conference that Kathy Woods, the Twitter guy, did? Yeah. It was that video. This is like way after. This is like probably like a year ago, right? Way out, because that was like summer of 2021 when that actual conference. What's even worse is this dude probably was in. We streamed that. I don't know, but anyways, like when it was actually going on, like the actual one. But at the bottom of the screen, it said like send 1 Bitcoin, get 10 bit, some dumb, like really dumb shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
you have to be completely freaking stupid to fall for something like that. And said he was like, yeah, he's like, I sent like literally everything, bro. It was like thousands of dollars. And he was like, are you guys able to like help me out? And I was like, no, absolutely not. And don't
Not
I,
if that's
yeah, I was
what you
like,
do with
what?
your money.
So I'm like, bro, I was like, this dude's trying to scam us. I was convinced. I was like, there's no way this dude was that stupid. I was like, he's just trying to say that to get money. And then we ended up having to mute the guy. He made like a GoFundMe and was like putting some long ass story about how he was like in the military and he lost all his money because of this. And I was like, bro, like, what is wrong with you? Like, but here's the ugly truth. That's the same person who's going to come in the market and liquidate themselves. Like, if you have that mentality, what that comes
100%.
from, like if you are really, if your brain wants to believe that someone's going to give you a 10 Bitcoin for you giving them one, there's something wrong with you. You know what I mean? Like, there's something, like, if you believe that, that's the same person who's going to like never take profits on a trade, who's going to over leverage. Like,
that's just pure gambling.
bro,
That's
like,
what that is.
that money is
He
leaving your
gambled.
hands.
He knew there's a chance. He knows that there's a big chance that that's a scam. Like, that is a scam. And there's that like 0.00000000001% that's real, which it won't ever be real, but
like, dude,
maybe in some alternate universe it's real.
Rick, dude.
Essentially, he took the worst gamble in the world.
Literally, and it's just like, bro, like, it comes down to like, I don't know, man. I used to really be like amazed by it, and like recently, because I've started to like use Instagram more. Instagram's the worst one. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just the people on Instagram fall for them, but like, I get more DMs of anything, of people saying like, hey man, there's a person impersonating you, which I always appreciate. I always say like, okay, thanks, report them, because 9 times out of 10 they have me blocked. I can't see the page, but I'm like, please report them. And Instagram's awful about moderation. Like, for example, I've reported a Instagram for obviously impersonating me, and I've gotten the notification back. It's like, we don't see anything wrong with this account. I'm like, bro, what? Like, it literally just was made 2 days ago and has all my posts. What do you mean you don't see anything wrong with it? So that's on, fuck Zuck, but I'm just kidding. But literally, man, like, people just gotta get a little smarter than that. That's the way I look at that. And maybe I'm an asshole. Like, I was talking to my girlfriend about it. She's like, you shouldn't be like that because people are gonna think you don't care. And I'm like, it's not that I don't care, but like my brand is built on no bullshit, right? Like, I'm never gonna sit here and try to appeal to somebody or say something to make somebody happy. I just think that's, but like, if that happens to you, like, you gotta understand, like, you had to learn that lesson. Somehow you didn't learn that lesson in life. Nobody, like, you had to learn that, bro. Like, hey, but hopefully it wasn't with thousands of dollars or some shit.
Yeah, dude, it's tricky because, like, literally, so I had a guy in our Discord, right? He fell for a scam. He fell for a scam of somebody impersonating me. So the worst part is when they do it on Telegram. So they'll have a Telegram, and then they'll have a Telegram group that it's not even well done. It's like looks like a 10-year-old child has created this Telegram. And so they somehow mirror a lot of the stuff that you post as well in your actual Telegram group, which I don't even really use. I literally just post my YouTube videos. And then they post this like investment scam at the bottom. And it's literally like, hey, make like 500% every day.
Dude.
Give $100 and get $1,000. And I'm like, okay, so firstly you invested in that. So the guy invested in it, and he was like, yeah, so I invested it. So are you going to give me my money back? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, yeah, you took my money. So are you going to give me my money back? And I'm like, no. And he's doing this in the Discord chat in public. And he's like, yeah, you took my money and you didn't give it back to me. And I'm like, dude, has the penny not dropped? Like, of course that's not me. Like, yeah. Dude, it looks like a 10-year-old created that page. And also, I don't have a page, anything remote. And then, so all of the people in the Discord started chiming in, and they're like, dude, are you are you actually joking right now? Like, you have to be joking. The guy was adamant that it was actually me impersonating myself who scammed him. And then he said, yeah, as soon as I messaged on here, all of it disappeared. And I'm like, dude, that's what they do. You send them the money and then everything disappears.
Yeah, it's like,
that's
bro,
how
like,
it
yeah,
works.
no shit, because you got, it's probably somebody in your group maybe that's making it. Who knows? Maybe not. Like, that's like, yeah, you never, I mean, dude, you got to, like, whenever in our early days, bro, before I was even like really a partner, there were so many people just stealing, like ripping everything and trying to post it to their own shit. Now, it wasn't really that kind of scam, but it was like people would like make a Discord. There were people that made a Discord that had no shame. They would literally copy, like screen snip my trade ideas and just post it just like that. Like my name, or they would just take my chart screenshot. They wouldn't even like make their own chart. They would literally copy and paste it. So you gotta, you know, you never, there's like a whole list of blacklisted people, but yeah, man, it's just like people that are that, I don't know, man, like, you know, I feel sorry for some, like that guy, I would have probably been not very nice to him. But if people get scammed and
the thing is, I started off being like super, like I felt bad.
Right.
At first I was like disbelief.
At the beginning.
At first I was like disbelief. And then I was like, wait, he's actually serious. So either he's mentally disabled, he's really old and doesn't understand and has never seen, like, this is the most primitive scam that I've ever heard of. It's also the most common and well-known scam around. So obviously he's either literally mentally disabled or like geriatrically old and has no idea what's going on in the world. So I actually felt bad and I tried to explain it to him, like very like, and eventually I was just like, hey, listen. And he started to get like aggressive and stuff. And eventually I was just like, hey, listen, block,
yeah,
buy,
exactly,
kick out.
definitely.
Because he was getting toxic. And I was just like, dude, I've spent the last like hour trying to explain this to you. And I'm just trying to be nice because I feel bad for you. But yeah, no more. But yeah, dude, that was crazy. I don't even know, like. And then the other day as well, somebody else was trying to say like, hey, we invested, where's our money? And they started like commenting under my YouTube videos. Like, hey, where's our money? Where's our money? I'm like, so then I messaged them very nicely. I'm like, I really hope that you haven't given anybody money that's been impersonating me. Like, I really hope not. And they're like, they're not impersonating you. I gave you my money, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I eventually explained it to them. I'm like, this is a very common scam. Hey, look, here are all of the pages impersonating me, blah, blah, blah. And they were eventually like, oh my word. Like, oh, I gathered together all of the money from my like synagogue and people that go to my church.
Yeah,
and
I don't,
like,
that just sounds like bullshit though.
Dude, I was like, no way. And eventually they were like, oh no. And then to top it off, they were like, oh, I lost like a couple $1,000. Like, oh, do you have any way that I can learn to make it back? I'm like, like, yeah, don't you have like some kind of strategy I can use to just like make it back? I'm like, no,
like,
it doesn't work like that.
Man,
yeah, I don't have the magic potion you seek. Maybe if you spend like 3 years learning and refining it, then maybe, yeah. But it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
It's awful that happens.
People amaze me every day, like how dumb people actually are, and I'm only realizing that now that like I'm in this space. So it's absolutely insane. Dude, I wanted to ask you, before you started trading, like, what was it like before you started trading? You said you had like other businesses you were running. Were you like, were you employed before then? What was it like before you sort of became more like financially independent?
Yeah, man. I mean, I worked, well, when I was 16, I worked at Five Guys. It was like a burger place. I don't know if they have that there. Yeah, it's like a burger place. And then I worked at Red Lobster after that until I was 18. And other than that, I never have really like worked like a job like that. But then Well, actually, that's not true. That's not true. I was for a very short amount of time. I did solar, like, so I fell on my face pretty hard at one point in my life, and I became like, I was literally walking door to door, dude, like walking door to door, selling, trying to lead set for solar sales. But then very quickly, I was like, no, this isn't it. So I talked to people on the team where I was at. There's a company called Brio. They ended up not being a very good company, but I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, I wanted to be a salesman. I wanted to be a closer. So then I got into sales, right? So I became a closer. I quickly realized that they weren't a very honest company in the terms that they had. So the way solar works, you have to have really good relations with the local, uh, just, basically like the city, the county, the state. You have to have really, because the permitting and everything is a big part of that. And I decided, okay, and on top of that, they were charging literally almost 50% higher than what they should be charging, which is a lot of money on, like, thousands of dollars. So I decided to make my own company. So I broke off from them. I just did research on like how this actually works. I partnered up with another company for fulfillment, and I just did like the front end, built like a little sales team of 2 people, and that was where got my feet wet into business. Um, and then I also had a trucking company as well at one point. We ended up shutting shop down on that, but I was already trading at that point. But yeah, before trading, and there's all sorts of other odd jobs and random like hustles. I used to sell cars, a lot of different stuff that I've done. You know what I mean? That really, it was just, I always knew that I wanted to have my own. I never liked being told what to do, I couldn't stand if I found something that could be done better, but there was like a bureaucratic system prohibiting that or preventing that, I guess. I could not stand that. Right? Like with that was what made me, start my own thing with solar. But yeah, man. So I kind of always had that go-getter mindset. I didn't want to be told what to do. I didn't want to have to do things other people's way. Like to this day, even, man, like, I, I don't really like having a business partner. You know what I mean? Because even if it's a good partner, I just like controlling things on my own. You know what I mean? And that's not from like a sense of like I don't think anybody else can do anything. It's just because I like doing things my way and the exact way that I want to do it. So trading is beautiful for that, right? Because there's absolutely
Yeah.
nobody, unless you're like like, I hate saying this too, like people that like blame their failure on other people. You're just a loser. Like that simple. Whether it's
Hmm.
trading or anything, like you're a loser. And you're going to be a loser for the rest of your life if you do not get away from that mindset. Now, a lot of people go from that to understanding. I'm not saying like you're a loser forever if you ever thought that, right? But like people that like, oh, like everybody's a scammer. It's like, I genuinely hope that you understand, that's just a losing mentality, right? You're a pessimistic person who has been hurt and you're cynical, and that's going to hinder your life, right? But I never thought like that in trading. I always understood like this is a me against me, and there's no employees, there's no people you have to manage, there's no relationships you have to negotiate, there's none of that, right? It's just you and yourself. And like you were saying, you put it very, very well. It was much earlier in our conversation when you were talking about people that jump from strategy to strategy and they just haven't internalized what the hell is actually wrong, and that's themselves. That was like really good way of putting, what trading really is about, right? Because you're going to have those inner problems that you have outside of the markets that are going to translate into your trading if you're not careful and you're not really mindful. So trading, I've always been into kind of like self-improvement and, discipline, just being mindful, like living life a lot different than most people in this generation want to live. And trading will bring that. It will, like look at some of the most successful traders in the game. They are also extremely disciplined. And whether it's with what, it doesn't have, maybe it's the gym, maybe it's with business, maybe it's whatever it's with, right? They have that mindset, man. And trading, people like the people that do look at the like a trading business and they think, oh, like that's just he must not trade. Hopefully one day trading will show them, like, once they actually are able to make money in trading, hopefully you don't just keep putting it in the market. I mean, Jesus, you know what I mean? So hopefully they can take those same lessons they've learned about themselves and then translate that into success in other fields. Because you can come into the markets with success in other fields and fail miserably. But I think that if you can become a very successful trader, there are very few things that you couldn't be successful doing, because trading is so hard and trading makes you come to terms with how you are. And there's no ways out. Like, you can have people that are very lazy do very well in business if they kind of are positioned right. You know what I mean? Like, if they just have a very good relationship or a very good network, you have people that are super lazy, super not on point, that are doing very well financially, right? And that's not, you know, I'm not hating on that, right? That's great. I'm happy for anybody doing well, unless they're scamming people or something. But, you know, but that kind of same person will come into the markets and fail miserably, right? But if you take somebody in the market who is extremely disciplined, they've been through the ringer, they've lost a lot, they've practiced something for years, they've learned that they were used to be an impulsive person, they learned that they weren't patient, that they weren't disciplined, but then figured out, okay, in order to be a good trader, I have to raise the level of my personal development, and they did that, then now they're going to take that same mindset that they've cultivated from being a good trader and go into whatever else they want to do in life, and they're going to knock it out of the park. But, you know.
Yeah, I think it's also just a thing of like trading is essentially self-development. You can't have one without the other. Like you said, like it's very seldom that you see like an obese successful trader. Like if you can't control like, you know, simple things like, if you've got like a mess in most of your psychological life, you're not going to be able to, translate that into making money. Like you just not like in terms of trading, you have to have all of these things, all of your ducks in a row before you get to the point of, psychological mastery essentially. And that's basically what trading is essentially. Like you're saying, like it could be any strategy that you're trading, as long as you've got, your psychology right, that's a lot of the battle won. And that's what everybody says, so yeah, I think that's a big deal in terms of trading. And I feel like now being a trader, like being a successful trader, is much more difficult than it was, if, for example, you were trying to learn it a long time ago. And I feel like especially like the new generation of traders that are coming up, probably going to have it even harder. There's probably going to be way less of them that are successful. And I think it's just because of the overall mindset that people have nowadays in society. I think that people just in general are being sort of bred to have this mentality of not taking accountability for anything. Like we were saying, like looking outward for the solution rather than looking inward, because it's never ever their fault. It's always the circumstances. It's like, hey, you don't know what it's like. As soon as somebody starts a sentence of, hey, you don't know what it's like to like have, growing up with like no money, or you like my education wasn't so good, and or like my parents were like abusive or whatever, they immediately take that as like an excuse to not do well in life. And if you're going to continually look outward for reasons of why you're failing, then you just will continue to fail. You will find the reasons, but if you look inward, you can then do something about it. Like there's a lot of circumstances that you can't control outwardly. Like, for example, your upbringing, or for example, your financial situation when you were growing up, and those kinds of things. And people will blame that over and over and over again. But I feel like, and especially nowadays, that is the mentality, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. And I feel like the media and social media in general are making it like, it's okay to feel this way. If you were, like you felt like you were a victim, it's okay. Like you don't have to do all of these great things, etc., etc. And I feel like less and less people are going to become successful because they're like, oh, it's okay to be mediocre. And I feel like that's what like literally everybody is telling you when you look at social media. It's like, it's fine. It's okay to just, you don't need to do better. Just do what you're doing now. And I think it's so bad. Like I can't stand it. Like it's the worst thing ever. But I think, some people are, happy with just doing what they're doing, and that's cool. Like if, you want to be a teacher, you want to be a doctor, whatever, that's cool. But there's a lot of people that just aren't like into that. And, I feel like there's going to be less people that are like that just purely because of the way the world is right now. I don't know what your take is on that.
Dude, I couldn't agree more. Like, I think it's everybody's indoctrinated because people I'm not a big like, red pill, like go down the rabbit hole type. I think a lot of that's just leveraged to, market to people because they latch onto it. But I do believe 100% that the way the world's set up, the way the modern educational system is set up, especially here in the States, is it's set up to indoctrinate people like that, right? Everything you see, the media, everything is set up in a certain way, like the way society is, to indoctrinate people into really being fucking losers. And there's no other nice way of putting it. Now, I'm not saying that everybody that isn't an entrepreneur is a loser. I'm not saying that at all. I don't believe in that. I don't subscribe to that. I think that is something that nobody really believes. It's just like a lot of young boys like kind of latch on to that for security from like, like people like Tate or like things like this, where people just use that as a marketing thing, and people like they find security and thinking, oh, I'm not one of the herd, right? In reality, most of those people are completely broke. But anyways, like whenever you look at the way the world is, it does kind of train people, like it's like giving everybody a trophy for like not winning. Like, every kid gets a trophy, or like, you shouldn't be hard on yourself, and all this, oh no, it's okay, just take a break, all this kind of stuff. That is breeding people that are weak, people that are losers. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's not, again, a loser in my book is somebody who doesn't have any desire to turn themselves into the person that they need to be to get what they need out of what they want out of life, right? Everybody's definition of success is different, right? So if you're not making the decisions you're just okay with scrolling all day, eating shit food, not taking care of yourself, not being grateful for anything you have, then, what are you doing with your life, right? But like you said, with people that are doing that, it's going to make a higher failure success or failure rate for a lot of people who are trying to come into the markets. They're not going to see success. You know what I mean? If you come into the markets with that mindset and your overall take is just that, be mediocre, you don't have to go hard. And those same people call people like you and I like tryhards, or like they're crazy. You know what I mean? Oh, why do you do that? Like I have people, like I'll work on like a Saturday or Sunday. And they're like, why do you got, yeah, man, you can't do that. Why do you got to do that, man? Like you got to hang. And I'm like, or people that like I don't really hang out with people. You know what I mean? I do occasionally. I don't want to. It's not like I am it's not like I have somebody telling me I have to go to work on a Saturday and I'm sitting there, oh my God, I have to go to work. That's not how it is. I want to do that. I want to go do that. If I don't like do something every day, that drives me crazy, because I have that voice in my head like, what are you doing? You're literally like, you're just wasting your time. You're wasting away. And the fact that people don't have that to me is fucking crazy. It's unfathomable for me. Like, like, and if you try to like talk about this with most people, they think you're weird. They think you're like crazy. Like, this dude's freaking crazy. Like, he's like a workaholic, but like, even like my parents, they're like, you got to stop, you got to slow down. Like cause like my dad's seen me in like different, like, for example, when I was doing the trucking thing, I was working like 16-hour days. And like, when I say working 16-hour days, I mean, actually either on the phone, driving to go take care of something, doing something, putting out fires for 16 hours a day. You know what I mean? And it was like, at that time, like when I look back now, I'm like, damn, I probably wouldn't want to have that much time in one business, because it did take away from everything else. But I as far as like that mindset, you have to have that mindset in order to really win, because it's hard to win in today's society. That's another thing. Like especially here in the States, people like in my parents' generation, like boomers, they have no idea like how hard it is for people now to get to where they're at. Like everybody in their generation owns a house. They've all bought this house. They've made hundreds of thousands of dollars off of just the fucking house appreciating in value. And they went to high school, got some normalized job. And it's just like, to them, they can't even like understand, like, you can't do that. Like you're not going to get anywhere in life doing that. Like if you just graduate school and like you're going to be on a perpetual hamster wheel forever. That's just a fact. Now if you go to like college and like get some kind of really high paying job, whatever, that's different. But even then, you're still like putting a cap. Like me and my girlfriend were talking about this the other day. It's like people that work the same job for like 15, 20 years. Like, what the fuck, dude? That's crazy to me. Like, as far as if it's just something that has like a very low ceiling. It's just like, but again, I think it comes to like an identity thing. Like that's what you value yourself as doing forever, right? If it's some kind of like thing that you really don't like doing, but you just do it because it's safe, right? Oh, it's what people want you to do. It's what your parents want you to do. It's what society's like definition of a successful life is. But what people fail to understand is that, society molds you to basically be a fuel for people who actually are being able to live whatever, whatever the hell they want to do, right? But again, I think it all comes back to like nowadays even more. It's just everybody's like so woke and like if you that I don't know how to explain, but you get where I'm getting at. Like the David Goggins mentality. A lot of people like label you as like crazy, like, but that's how you should live. I mean, I'm not saying you have to run on broken legs, but I am saying that like you should have some fucking drive, man. Like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? But again, it's just society babies people. It coddles people into this, easygoing. Don't be hard on yourself, and it's just like that's what you want your life to be. That's what you want your legacy to be. That's what you want to spend your life, the only life you have, waking up, looking at your phone, and doing the same thing every day, and living on like terms, like, oh, I can't go out to eat tonight. I don't have enough money, or like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being at that stage, but like being okay with that and not having a desire to get out of that, that is so beyond me. I will never understand that, and it's sad, but that's kind of like what how most people think. That's just how society works, and in all honesty.
Yeah, I think like for me personally, I've been like in a really unique situation of where like within a reasonably short period of time, I mean like 3 years or so, I managed to go from being in that situation to being in a completely different situation. So my evolution has been pretty quick. And so I can quite easily give a perspective on both of those viewpoints. And for me, like everything that I've done has changed so dramatically where, where you're stuck in that, where you're stuck with terms that you have to live by of, hey, maybe I'm not, when you don't have that drive, for example, you don't have the drive to, go out and do something more when you've kind of given up on your future, essentially. I feel like most people just live with that because society says it's okay. Like it's okay to not want anything more. It's okay. And you probably won't ever get any more. And that's okay too. And that's what they tell you. And so, and I mean, for some people, they only want a certain amount, and that's fine too, and they genuinely are content. But what I'm saying is, for the majority of people, most people aren't happy with what they have, but they don't want to go out and get more. And I feel like that's why there's a lot of like guys out there that are literally like playing like Dungeons and Dragons and whatever. Not to say that was literally me, but literally playing, Dungeons and Dragons, World of Warcraft, whatever kind of dragons they're trying to slay in their life. Essentially that's them putting that, energy into that and achieving, these feats of strength in their life virtually in like a game, and like that's their fun escape. But as soon as you start to put that into your actual life, like for me, I used to be like literally that, like I would play so many video games to like try and like escape my actual situation and life, because I was just like, I'm not achieving and I'm not pushing for what I really should be pushing for. And this is me conquering things in my mind, but it's not real things that I'm conquering. Whereas now, 3 years later, I can't play video games. I can't. Like, I just feel like I'm wasting my time, like immediately wasting my time. Like, I really do. I feel like, why am I doing this if I'm literally conquering stuff in real life?
Yeah.
Like, why would I put my energy, and how could I feel any kind of fulfillment from this if I know I've literally achieved nothing right now? I've spent the last 5 hours trying to beat this level, and I've literally achieved nothing. Like, my brain just can't do that anymore. Like, it feels pointless. It's really, really weird. Like, for me to go from, spending all my time doing stuff that's a waste of time, like that, like playing video games, like whatever else it was, I did a lot of stuff that was a waste of time, to now going and, conquering stuff in my real life. I could never ever go back to that. Like, it just doesn't make sense. And I feel like people are just living in that numb world of like conquering stuff that isn't real when they should be conquering stuff in their real life. Yeah, I think it was Jordan Peterson that said something along that lines. I listened to him talking about it, and that's why it's so popular. That's why video games are so popular. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with video games, but I'm just saying that a lot of people put all of that energy and drive that they have into stuff that doesn't even exist because they feel like there's no point in even trying. Like, why would I even try to make trading work or make this business work? Because why would you? It's okay to be mediocre, right? Like, it's okay to just like work your job so that I can just come home and play this video game and try to forget about my job, you know? Yeah. So yeah, it's crazy. The world we live in right now is actually kind of scary and kind of crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's insane, especially like from a trader's point of view. When you've had to go through like psychological development and stuff like that. In terms of like your trading, what do you think the biggest challenge was? Sorry, I'm jumping like a big, I'm jumping to a totally different topic here, but what was your like biggest psychological challenge, do you think? And like specifically when it came to trading?
Yeah, man. So the really the biggest psychological hurdles that I had to jump over was I've always been a risk taker, man. Like, and I believe in business, you know, sometimes you have to put it all on the line. And I can firmly say that, and people are going to do not take this into trading, but in life and in business, sometimes you have to put it on the line. Now, that doesn't mean full pour into the next, you know, ES short you see. I'm not saying put it on the line as terms of your account, but you have to give everything you got. And like in business, sometimes you do, like, you know, a lot of people don't understand entrepreneurship or like business. They think that you just have like some fat stack of cash. Like, you know, sometimes there's times where you're going to be taking hits throughout the year. You know, there's people don't, you know, I guess what I'm getting at is in trading, I had to understand that it's not, trading is a probabilities game. It's a numbers game where, you know, you chip away a little bit, you're still around to make it big whenever you are right. You know, you might chip away when you're losing, but I was like, I looked at it when I first started like as something you would figure out, and then you could just like go hard with it and like, oh, I'm a winner trader now. And in trading, it's like you have to build a system that just gives you an edge because you're going to lose all the time. And you never know when those losses are going to come. So you have to be prepared for them at any moment. So the biggest psychological hurdle I had to come over or overcome was being too much of a risk taker in terms of like just, you know, just over leveraging, over positioning, stuff like that. But it just came from that kind of mentality had worked for me in other areas. But again, that also taught me something about myself. Like, okay, maybe that's something you need to work on. You know what I mean? But then now, fast forward, I'm like the polar opposite of that. Like polar opposite, you know what I mean? So it's that would definitely be the biggest hurdle that I had to overcome.
Right. Yeah. It's at the end of the day, it's all about taking calculated risks essentially, and you just get better at calculating those risks essentially over time. And I feel like that's just essentially what I did as well. And I feel like it's the same for a lot of traders. But with that in mind, like, you know, struggling with you know, taking big risks, if you had to go back in time to where you were struggling with that, like what would you tell yourself?
Understand that it is a marathon, not a sprint, and you got to play the numbers, man. Like, you just got to understand that this game is something that is success is a process. It's not going to be an event. It's not like you just figure it out and then now you can just start, you know, going super crazy heavy and making bunches of money off every trading day. There's going to be weeks, days, even months sometimes you're going to be in the red, right? You just got to make sure that, because it's really easy to erase all of your green if you're not careful. So that would be the biggest thing I could tell myself, man. But
Right. Dude, I think we could sit here for literally another hour and a half. I think we might need to do like literally like a part 2 sometime.
Yeah, no, for sure, man.
Yeah,
for sure.
Dude, this was really great, dude. I'm really glad that I got to chat to you today. So yeah, thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much, Jesse. His links and stuff will be in the description below. So yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on,
yeah,
bro.
Man.
Really appreciate it,
yeah,
man.
Thank you for having me.
So
man.
yeah, Yeah, dude. Yeah, pleasure's mine. We'll have to probably do another one at some point because, bro, we could like literally talk for hours. So yeah, everybody who watched, thank you very much. And we're going to be having a lot more of these kinds of podcasts. If you enjoyed it, please do comment down below and let me know what you thought about it. Let me know about ideas for the future and who you want to see on the podcast in the future as well. Make sure that you subscribe down below. And again, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next podcast.